Today marks the second anniversary of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny returning to Russia after recovering from being poisoned. He was immediately arrested upon his arrival, convicted on fabricated charges, and is still in prison to this day. In a tweet sent by his associates outside Russia, Navalny wrote that he will never surrender his country and urges everyone not to abandon hope. Navalny is a prime example of Russian President Vladimir Putin's attempts to clamp down on any form of dissent to his rule. Dissent has only been growing as we near the one-year anniversary of the start of his war against Ukraine. While it has led to immense political and economic turmoil within the Kremlin, Putin has not relented at all in his vicious assault on Ukraine. Take a look at these pictures of an apartment complex in the Ukrainian city of Dnipro that was the target of a Russian missile strike over the weekend. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky denounced the strike that claimed the lives of at least 45 people, including 6 children, as a war crime. It's one of the deadliest attacks on civilian targets since the war began. Joining me now is Michael McFaul, former U.S. ambassador to Russia and an MSNBC international affairs analyst. Ambassador McFaul, it's always great to speak with you. It definitely feels like, despite the fact that it feels like a losing effort overall, Russia's viciousness and barbarity has not been mitigated at all. This attack on an apartment building that killed so many people, that feels like an escalation, not a de-escalation.
You're right, Joy. It does to me, too. When you can't win on the battlefield and Putin is losing on the battlefield, he is upping the ante in his terrorist attacks against Ukrainian civilians. This is a horrible one that we just saw, horrific what happened with this missile attack on this apartment building, right? Doesn't that remind you a little bit of September 11th, by the way, looking at that footage?
Yeah.
But that's what he does when he can't win on the battlefield, and I see no signs that he's going to stop.
And, you know, I just combine sort of these things, you know, having Alexei Navalny imprisoned. Vladimir Kara-Murza, friend of the show, is also imprisoned, imprisoning the people who could free and liberate Russia and turn it into a democracy. And at the same time, openly partnering with Belarus and others to sort of make it look like he's got allies in this war. But I'm wondering if any of it is helping internally in terms of how Russians view him, because the fact that he has to run to Belarus now for help, it doesn't feel like strength. And having Navalny and his other opponents in prison doesn't look like strength either.
Well, Joy, first of all, thank you for mentioning Alexei Navalny at the top of your show. It's the 2-year anniversary of his wrongful imprisonment. And people need to remember he's still in jail. But I think you make a really good point. Why is Alexei Navalny in jail? Why is Kara-Murza in jail? Why is Ilya Yashin, another one of their colleagues, in jail? When Putin wants us to believe that there's no opposition to the war, everybody supports him, everybody loves him, and yet he feels like he has to put all these people in jail, chase out independent media, and I think those are signs that, in fact, when you read opinion polls and it says everybody supports the war, we need to be suspicious about those polls. By the way, remember, there are really high non-respondent rates to opinion polls in Russia. Guess why? Because you can go to jail for 15 years if you say the wrong thing about Putin. So surprise, surprise, people aren't answering those polls. So that's number one. Number two, Navalny's opposition channels, if you watch his YouTube channels that his opposition in exile are still doing, their numbers are going way up. And state-controlled television channels, people are watching those less and less. And even those opinion polls with all their flaws are showing declining support for the war and anxiety about the war. So yes, superficially, it looks like everybody's supporting the war, but you dig a little deeper, and I think there's a lot of data suggests that he's losing popular support for this war.
You know, it feels like he could probably, you know, go on for quite some time as long as oil prices stayed high, right? As long as Russia's oil industry stayed strong. That doesn't seem to be happening. A less than frigid winter has kind of foiled the plan to freeze Europe out. And it seems that Russia's oil industry is actually feeling the effects of sanctions. Could that weaken Putin ultimately?
Well, you're right. I fear tragically, analytically, if I have to answer the question, that he could last a long time because he controls everything. But you raise a good point. Ukrainians like to say, God's on our side. Look at what great weather they've had in Europe, right? He is not selling oil. You know, it's a 30% discount already, and it's way below where it was at the beginning of the war. And over time, sanctions are having that impact. Russia today is a very isolated economy. It's not going to grow in the next year. Tens of thousands of the best and the brightest are leaving. And over time, that is going to take its toll. Economic elites, there's not a single major economic elite. Well, maybe one or two that are really close to Putin, but most of them lament this war. Most of them detest this war. They don't say that because they don't want to go to jail, but there's no enthusiasm among economic elites for this war inside Russia.
There's somebody has left. You've got a Wagner Group commander who has requested asylum in Norway. It's the first time we've seen a defection to the West since the start of the war. Do you think that this is significant?
I do. I think we should be doing a whole lot more to encourage more defections, by the way. Have a comprehensive strategy for doing that. But it's important in two respects. One is with the Wagner Group. That's the paramilitary mercenaries private military company run by this guy, Yevgeny Prigozhin, right? So they're supposed to be professionals, and he's defecting. But you also see tensions below the surface between the Wagner Group and the regular military forces. They're each claiming credit for recent victories. Putin just had to change his commander in charge of this war, right? You don't change your generals when you're winning wars. You change them when you're losing. And again, you add up these things, and I think there's lots of different pieces of evidence to suggest that A, this war is going badly, B, a lot of Russians know it, and maybe even C, Putin himself knows it.
The last question, I feel like I ask you this all the time, but I'll just ask it again. You know, when Russia is bombing apartment buildings, it's a war crime. Everyone knows it's a war crime. Everyone knows they're doing it. But it feels like the international community is utterly helpless. I mean, the U.S. is now training, Ukrainian soldiers. We're bringing them into the U.S. and helping and training them. We're providing them billions of dollars in aid, in military aid. But it feels like there must be something more that the world can do to brush back this rogue nation.
I think there is. I'd do three things. One, we should designate Russia a state sponsor of terrorism. We have a list. 4 countries are on it right now. Cuba, Joy, is on that list. If Cuba's on that list, how can Russia not be on that list? Number 2, we should massively increase sanctions. We talked about the good news of sanctions, but there are literally hundreds of new sanctions that we could impose. We should have a big bang approach to sanctions, not incrementalism. And third, I think the same thing about weapons. If you listen to General Zaluzhny, the commander-in-chief of Ukraine, he says, give me 300 tanks and I will push the Russians out. Well, we should test that hypothesis. We should give them the offensive weapons they need to try to push the Russians out. So we've done a lot. I give the Biden administration a ton of credit for 2022. But nobody's going to remember all the good things they did in 2022 if Putin begins to win in 2023. And that's why I think we need a big bang approach here on sanctions, on weapons, and on designating them as state sponsor of terrorism. What a great way to start the new year.
Sounds like great ideas. Hopefully somebody in Biden world is listening. Ambassador Michael McFaul, thank you very much.